nonprofit. We are based out of New England, and we are conducting a video seminar series for all of our AOS instructors to carry out to partner organizations such as youth sites, community groups, and public schools. What we're going to start with today is martial arts for Video 1, Week 1 series. As you probably already read in our literature, the way it works is we have a Week 1, Video 1 for the first week. If your group meets Monday through Friday, that means you can be working on this Monday through Friday. It's divided into 3 segments. We have a martial arts section, we have a cardio and strength section, and then we end with a meditation session. And this is for every week over the course of about 3.5 months. As each week goes on, as your AOS instructor probably already told you, it's okay to continuously practice from the past weeks. In other words, what we cover in Week 1 can be gone over also in Week 2. And what goes on in Week 2 can be gone through also in Week 3, and so on and so forth. So it's a cumulative practice. That should give plenty of options and variation for kids within the martial arts and the weightlifting and the track and field group and everybody that's coming for different reasons. There's going to be plenty of choices to work on Monday through Friday. For Week 1, for the martial arts section, we're going to go through 3 small parts, small but important parts. The first is basic stretching. Stretching is very important before and after practice. We want to avoid injury. The second is going to be our stance work. Good stances and good footwork is what wins fights in competitions and in martial street self-defense. And lastly, the basic 1-2 jab cross. So, well, the first disclaimer we want to kind of give to the general public practicing this is always make sure every student and new member of your group has been medically cleared. It's important that their primary care practitioner has said that they're medically able to do some of the stuff we're doing. Some of it gets a little intense, so it's always a train at your own risk, but we want to make sure that people are being safe. Safety before training, because if you're really injured, then you can't train, and where's the fun in that? So we're going to start with just some basic martial arts stretches. You've probably seen these before. Some of them come based from yoga. Others are just more stretching that you've learned in your basic phys ed class. And we're going to start slow, and then we're going to actually incorporate yoga in some of the later video series. So the first stretch, warming up, and the first tidbit we want to give for each student practicing is it's actually good to do a little bit of jogging in place. Maybe do some push-ups or sit-ups just to get the blood flowing. It's better to do a little bit of that before you start stretching, because sometimes it's bad to really be doing a hard stretch dry and not so ready, and that can actually tear muscle fibers and do more harm than good. So get your blood flowing a little bit for a couple minutes. That's always a good idea. The first stretch is for the arms. So you've seen it before. We're just putting one arm across our body, collapsing in with the other arm over the elbow. You're going to hold that for 20 to 30 seconds. Then, of course, you'll switch other arm. Everything we do is symmetric. And from here, we're going to do a good shoulder stretch and feel it in the deltoids. Put your other hand over your elbow. You're going to go right behind your head, like so. And you're going to press down with downward motion. Not too hard, but just enough to feel a pull. Same thing, you'll do that with the other side here. Another great one that I like to do against the wall, you're going to see that I hold my side with my opposite hand, and I'm going to let all my dead weight fall forward to really get the stretch in the upper back and the shoulder scapula region. So you're just going to put your hand on the wall and lean forward with a few feet, and my legs are completely straight, and all that weight is pressing forward, and I'm just using gravity to let this whole part of my back get stretched. And then same thing, every stretch we're doing is about 30 seconds. In theory, in stretching, you should do about at least 10 minutes of stretching before and after your training class. It's something to keep in mind. For the first leg stretch, I want to go ahead and show a more difficult one that is a great stretch for martial arts kicks. You're going to hold the leg here, one hand under, the other hand over. And we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. You'll do the same here. Hold. And then, this is a little bit trickier, but it's an important one to try. Keep your forward foot facing forward, with the opposite foot going back. Hold one hand up for balance, and go ahead and hold this. This is your side kick stretch. And from there, same thing. You're going to go opposite foot, hand out, and you're going to try to balance out, and it's not that easy. But if you can hold it, it's a great stretch to help with both the side kick and the roundhouse. Another good leg stretch, of course, we know the traditional runner stretch, just holding, stretching the calves, the quads here. And then an important one I want to show, legs going straight out, arms here, and we're going as low as we can. Put the weight forward on the ground, head up, that's another 30 seconds. And then we're going to do the traditional split stretch on the balls of your feet. So the balls of the feet on the heel. And you should have toes pointed up and just try to rest as much weight as you can on the legs. You'll feel it a lot in the groin. Again, don't force a stretch. Don't go too low because then you'll have injury. One important stretch for our side kick also, you have your leg facing forward, and you have your leg out as though you're doing the side kick, and the hands in the opposite direction pointing where you're doing your side kick, and you hold that for 30 seconds. And then you'll go ahead and you'll switch other side on that. As far as the toes, the ankle of the foot, the ankle's a common injury. Just point the toes into the ground. Do a nice continuous roll. One direction, 30 seconds. Then the other direction, 30 seconds. And these are just some good warm-up stretches. We'll add some stuff for different strikes as we go on. But that is pretty much the stretches that we would like every student to do before and after their training. As far as the stance, for our stance, the best way to have a good martial street fight, street self-defense stance, and even in the ring, is to go ahead and have what we call toe-heel alignment. For a lot of new students, our advice is to take a piece of tape, run it along the floor, and so you have your toe touching one side of the tape and your heel on the other. You don't want your stance too much this way, and you don't want, because then the groin is exposed. In the ring, in tournament fighting, that doesn't matter, but we all know the ring and street training are two very different things. You would never have an open, wide, exposed stance in the street. So you don't want too big a space. You also don't want to go and do what's called crossing through your center. If I cross through my center with my rear leg too far to the other side, I'm very off balance. It's very easy to knock me over. So we want toe-heel alignment. Knees are a little bit bent. The pelvis, the waist, is inverted, pushed forward. This is a little bit different than a lot of other training stances. We're facing our opponent. I'm not looking over my shoulder like this. I want to have all my tools, my elbow, my hands, my knees, my feet, readily available to attack. So I'm going to have a forward stance. I'm going to have my hands rested open, and I'm going to have my elbows in. A good way to teach this is to say that a student, that they have a magnet here on their elbow and in the core of their abdomen. So what do magnets do, right? They're sucking in together. And so it's like they're attracted to be going like this. If you can remember that analogy, that seems to help a lot of new fighters remember how to keep their arms in and not out like this. There's no power in strikes like this. So we're going to go ahead and have knees bent. We're facing forward. And this is a pretty good stance, and use a piece of tape or a ruler to measure that your toe lines up with the other foot's heel, And again, not too much like this. You don't want the knee exposed because you can really hurt the knee if you get kicked this way. So it's angled forward. And again, knees bent. We're always bending our knees. And one more important note, chin to chest. We're very careful. In the ring, you don't have to worry about this so much because, of course, you cannot strike the neck or the throat. But in the street, we're very smart with our street defense. We do chin to chest. So your shoulders are almost raised up a little bit to go ahead and protect the sides of your head. And your chin and chest is down to go ahead and protect your throat. And we're going to conclude the martial arts first week part, and this is something that students should be practicing throughout our entire curriculum over the next couple months, and also just every class, is your fundamental jab cross. We're going to take just a couple minutes to quickly run through what is a good jab cross. So I'm in my stance, and you can see we'll do it from both angles, toe heel alignment, knees bent, and I'm coming out. We teach open hand in the beginning. Couple things about open hand strikes. The thumb is tucked in. You're hitting with the meat of the hand right here, this part, kind of right where the skin folds down in between the bones, right here. This is where we're hitting an open palm strike. Why do we never hit with thumbs out? Of course, if you miss your target, you hit your thumb, then you broke your thumb, and that's not good for training, that's not good for you. It's certainly not good in a real street situation if you must defend yourself. So we have our hands open like this, like you're high-fiving someone, and we're going to go ahead and teach a couple basic strikes with just the 1-2. When we do a 1-2 strike, we're moving from the hips. We're starting all the way down at the very smallest toe to go ahead and turn all the way in as if you're squishing a bug on the ground, and we're coming all the way through, transferring all the power up the side of the leg, up the rib cage, all the way through the shoulder to the end of my hand where the strike comes. So it's never hitting just like this. If you see the stance here, doing a jab like this, you see a lot of guys tense up and hit just like this. There's zero power in that because it's all arm and shoulder. That will never knock anyone out. You need to be able to put in a jab in your lead hand and all your power into it, coming out like that. Quick terminology for your students. A jab is anything with the leading hand that comes from the front in your stance. The rear is what's behind. So in this stance, I'm in a left stance because my left foot is forward, my left hand is forward, my right leg is in back, my right arm is in back, so my jab would be lead and my cross would be rear. You'll notice when I come out and strike, I'm using the tips of my shoulders to be concaved up and cover the side of my head. Why do I do this? Because I know it protects knockout points below the jawline and the temple. So I'm coming out like this, and I want students to just practice this week doing jab, cross. And all I want is to go ahead and impress upon people that I want elbows in for the strikes. And we want to make sure when kids do this, because you don't need, all the mats and pads and bags for basic training. What you really need is just good hard practice. And when you hit the air and you're practicing in the air, it's important to remember to leave a slight bend in the elbow. When I'm hitting, I'm never fully extended on my jab like this. Why? Because I know that I can pull these ligaments in the elbow, in the tendon, and that injury takes a long time to heal. So you should never be snapping and whipping all the way out like this. That will cause injury. Leave a slight bend, almost like the body of a snake, leaving a slight curve. That's what you want. So we're coming out, thumbs tucked in, and we're hitting 1, 2, and they should be moving their hips as if you're squishing a bug. So it starts with the legs, it ends with the hands, and at some point you should be doing it fast enough that it seems almost like it's happening all at once, and the whole body's going into it. So we're going to do just a couple practice tries. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and from here, make sure that there's good form, the hips are moving, and that's something that should be practiced at least for 15 or 20 minutes in a set. See what it's like to let people feel everywhere from their shoulder, their chest, Their arms get that sore feeling of really whipping. Start practicing slow first. Kids like to practice fast too often, and when you practice fast, you practice the wrong thing 1,000 times. It's better to practice the right thing 10 times. So elbows in, 1, 2, chin to chest, and bring the shoulders up to protect the sides of your head. Okay? And remember to leave that bend in the arms so that you don't pull a tendon or a ligament in the elbow. And that concludes the 1-2 session for the jab cross. That's the big piece to work on for week 1, along with the stretching and checking their stance. That concludes the martial arts part of week 1. Class 1, week 1 portion of our cardio and strength fitness series for students. We're going to go ahead and we're going to quickly do a demo on Tai Chi Running. Okay, and we're going to do the strength training based on dealing with squats to really work the thighs and the hamstrings. Okay, so with Tai Chi Running, all we're doing is teaching people how to run in place. It's always good to start a martial arts class out with like a 20-minute, 30-minute run. That can be a little heavy for some people, but it's a great way to get the blood flowing and to go ahead and really start the cardio martial art practice. If you are in a place where you can't be running outside and you have to be indoors, that doesn't stop you from running. That's the purpose of what we call Tai Chi Running. It's something that can be used in marathon running for track and field distance kids. It's something that can also just be used for martial artists looking to do a 20-minute cardio with running in place. All we're going to do is we're going to begin running in place, but we're going to do a couple slight differences. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to be breathing always in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. We're going to try to keep the tongue on the roof of the mouth while we run, which can be a little difficult for some people. So essentially, you shouldn't be able to talk while you're doing this if you're doing it correctly. So start with just seeing what it's like to run in through the nose, out through the mouth, and now try it with the tongue on the roof of your mouth. That's a little tricky for some people with the breathing mechanism to do that. When we're running, Tai Chi Running, we're doing circles. Notice we're not being robotic up and down like this. We're having our thumbs and our forefingers, our pointer fingers, touching, and we're doing nice, light circles. So what happens in ultra marathons and ultra endurance events is that great runners understand that the arms can actually be powering the legs to keep moving when you feel like your legs are giving out. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to just practice Tai Chi Running. This is something that you should be practicing at least 20 minutes to get cardio effect. You always do at least 20 minutes. And it's something that you're on the balls of your feet. I'm not trying to stomp and have my entire foot, surface of my foot hit the ground. I'm always on the balls of my feet. And so that's all you're doing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Look straight ahead. And remember, closing here and making circles. See what that's like to be doing 20 minutes of Tai Chi Running. If you learn those principles, 20 minutes of running can turn into 2 hours of running, no problem. It works. And that's that for Tai Chi Running. Obviously, it helps to be doing it in a group, put on some music, but even if it's snowing out, you're in a place you can't run outside, or you just have space issues, so you can't do a big kind of aerobics class. It's just running in place, it takes no space, and it's effective, and it works. That is for the cardio portion of week 1. For the strength portion, we're dealing really with legs, mostly thighs, and our hamstrings. We're going to do a series of squats. With our squats, very important in martial arts to go ahead and put the connection for a powerful kick through exercising these muscles. Any kick you do, you will get benefit from working on these muscles. Or for kids that are just into lifting weights, want to get big and strong, these are just great variation exercises to do for lower body. We're going to do each one with and without weights just to show what the difference is. Kids that want to do a lot of heavy reps, will use heavy weight and just do maybe 10 or 12 reps. Kids that want to just get, really toned will go ahead and do up to 40 or 50 sets without any, 40 or 50 repetitions without any major weight added on. So it depends on what you want. And then there are some people that will train a little bit with both, and that's fun too. With our half squats, we'll start with a half squat, and we'll start without weight, for those that don't want to use weight. And so with a half squat, all we're doing, hands up. This, by the way, is an extra key thing to remember as far as muscle memory in the body with fighting. Keeping your hands to your head and your elbows in. That's another reason we like to do squats. So we're going to go halfway, hold, and come up. And we're only going halfway. The side, just going down halfway. And you're almost wanting to sit down as if something is a foot behind you or so, to go ahead and just be controlling it. And that's the half squat. Then the full squat is obviously going down, coming up. Now, when people do sets up to 50 or 100 reps, a lot of people cheat and start doing this. And this is wrong because I'm using the bounce back motion to come back up for my squats. That's incorrect. You actually want to stop and control it. Okay? So make sure you're watching for students that might be doing that. With the weight, same thing. I find there are two ways to hold it. Holding it close in, going halfway for the half squats, and some kids are more comfortable using that, or the full squat variation, and that's fine. But what I like to do, because it's a little bit extra of a workout, I find, and it really centers my balance, is I like to keep it above the head, arms bent. It's cheating if you're keeping it all the way out like this, and it's a little bit more dangerous. So arms bent over the head, and you can go half, or you can go full. But either way, make sure you're controlling your squat. Also, we can do something called straight arm squats. What are straight arm squats? Well, when you go down, doing it without weight, it's just keeping your arms out as you go down. So every time you go down, the arms are being extended. Okay? You can see it's the same motion, but arms going straight out. Well, you can make it a little bit tougher if you want to do less reps and build more mass by just taking a couple dumbbells. You don't need all the fancy weight equipment. With just a few sets of dumbbells, you can do some really amazing workouts. And coming from the front, it's just arms out every time you're coming up. And you're exhaling, obviously, as the weights are coming up. Like you're blowing on soup. Same thing here. Legs parallel. It should be coming out about shoulder length, not too much more. You don't want to strain the shoulders. And for the half squats, that can be done letting your leg, you can either hold the wall and leave the other leg up, or just standing in place. You don't even need to be near a wall. You can just rest one foot on the calf muscle like this. And you can go ahead, same thing, arms up, and just be bending. Try not to get into the habit of bending forward too much, because that really strains the back. It's very hard to not do that in the beginning. Also, you can do it with weights to make it a little harder. So same thing. We're wrapping it from around the rear leg, and we're just coming out. And this can work with half or full squats, but the big thing is don't be leaning forward like this and straining yourself. Try to stay linear, vertical. And lastly, with squats, and it's called reverse seated squats. I love them and I hate them. You get a lot out of them. What you're going to do is you're going to just stay in a squatted position and you only come up for the rep. So you're always down instead of always being up. And this can get really, really hard if you have a plate or you have just a couple dumbbells and you stay in your squatted position, and doing 100 of these, resting in the down position, is astronomically harder. But you'll really get a great workout. And just remember, every momentary rest position is in the downward position. So 1, 2, 3. And one slight detail, leave a little bend in the body. Don't just be sitting so that the backs of your thighs are on the backs of your calves. That's kind of cheating. Leave a little bend, so you've got to use some muscle even in the downward position. Our meditation piece, we're going to be doing Indian breathwork system from India, really beautiful meditation called Pranayama. Very powerful. I've met a lot of fighters that have learned how to use this, anywhere from preparing for a tournament to controlling anger, and it works just in everyday life for everyone, regardless of whether you train or not. What we're going to do with Pranayama is we're going to take the ring finger, the opposite side nostril, we're going to have the tongue on the roof of the mouth, just like in Tai Chi Running, and what we're going to do is breathe in and out through the other nostril only, not using the mouth. We're going to go very slow. We're going to inhale, hold, and exhale on my count. I'm going to do the full, quick 3-minute practice with you, and then we're going to wrap up for week 1, class 1, Army of Saints video series. So, we're starting with the right hand. Take the ring finger, tongue on the roof of the mouth. Some people close their eyes, some people do it with their eyes open. It's your choice. And we're inhaling, breathing from what we call the dantian, or the pit of the stomach, about 2 inches below the belly button. We're going, breathing in, hold, exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale slow. Inhale. Hold. Exhale slow. Again, tongue on the roof of the mouth. Breathing from the dantian. Switch, ring fingers. Other nose, other side. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. From the pit of the stomach. Hold. Exhale. We did it 3 times on each side of the nostril with the ring finger, only breathing in and out from the other nostril with tongue on the roof of the mouth. And this will actually change brain chemistry, brain waves, when done correctly, even in just a couple minutes. It's a great way to be able to help somebody change their thinking and thinking about something or reflecting on something differently, controlling anger, managing emotions. It has a wide variety of uses. it would do everybody a lot of good to learn how to do it. A lot of the problems we see in general in our society, people getting in trouble, not having the element of self-control, is because they don't know the secrets. It's very lucky that we're just giving them here, so we want you guys to really use it and learn it and understand it. Always 4 things we go through in our weekly wrap-up. The first is always circle up with everybody, bow out. We bow out. It's called paper wraps rock, rock, paper, bowing out like this, always looking at somebody. And we're going to just ask people, everybody, including the instructors, one thing you learned and liked from this week's video series, something that you personally want to work on, which can be a little bit difficult to admit sometimes, whether, if you have jealousy problems, anger problems, if you are intimidated or get nervous real easily about anything. Any of these things to kind of start honing in on, working on, becoming a stronger person. That's part of being a stronger martial artist. It really all intertwines. And for the third thing, we always mention the nutrition piece here. Everybody should have a copy of the Army of Saints Nutrition Chart of Champions, reminding people, we go through this every week because it's so very important. It's not just about how hard and smart you train, it's about how intelligently you eat. And it has nothing to do with what culture somebody's from. These are foods that it's not so much economic status, it's got to do with finding foods that are right to eat, that are pretty much widely available to everyone. 25% of your daily intake should be some form of vegetables. Another 25, fruit, nuts, and seeds, especially the nuts and seeds. Another 25%, beans, lentils, yogurt, soy milk. We want to really get a solid intake of protein. This is where it is. This is very, very readily absorbable forms of protein through soy. And the other part of having a high bean intake, using different beans, from anything from soybeans to kidney beans to green beans, lime beans, all these different beans. It's a great source of protein, and it's a great source of fiber. And last, whole grains. We're looking at brown rice, whole grain pasta, barley, oats, wheat bread, all these different whole grains that are really your carbohydrates. Those are your main source of your energy for the day. And so we always go through that, impressing people the smart way to eat. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and remind people, thinking about how we have our job readiness integrated into the martial arts and physical fitness program. And people will ask, how does job readiness tie into practicing martial arts or training physical fitness? Because the sound, smart martial artist has a plan for his or her future. That's why we have Job Corps and job readiness components involved. As later weeks, there will be separate classes that you'll be thinking about resumes, mock interviews, how to go ahead and apply for different jobs, and how to go ahead and start your career in whatever major field you're looking to go into after high school and or college. So be thinking about all these things, how to be a stronger person in general, because that's what a good martial artist is. From Army of